All right, welcome everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into Raspberry Pi using their 2023 statutory accounts.
Think of it like their business report card.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be exploring how they're doing, their plans, and what their future might look like.
And how they dealt with that whole global semiconductor shortage everyone was talking about.
Right, a lot of businesses were hit hard by that.
You can see their resilience and adaptability just from these accounts. It's really fascinating.
For sure. Okay, so let's get into it. The report talks about a huge shift from product shortages in 2022
Yeah, remember everyone struggling to get their hands on them.
to almost full availability in 2023. And they even boosted unit sales by 22%, hitting a total of 7.4 million units sold.
Wow, that's a lot of tiny computers.
It is. And what's interesting is their direct-to-customer sales model. It went from 73% to 82% of their total unit sales in 2023.
That's a pretty big jump. Makes you wonder if cutting out the middleman is becoming the key to success in tech these days.
Right. It's definitely working for them. Plus, they mentioned those favorable DRAM prices, memory chip prices,
Oh yeah, DRAM.
help boost their profits more than they expected.
Well, it wasn't just luck, They diversified their suppliers on purpose.
So, smart move.
And locked in some long-term agreements with key vendors. That way they could keep getting the parts they needed even when the supply chain was all messed up.
Yeah, like they were prepared for the storm, unlike some others.
Exactly. Like playing chess while everyone else is struggling with checkers.
I like that analogy. Speaking of innovation, let's talk about the Raspberry Pi 5.
Ah, yes, their new flagship product.
Launched in September 2023 with some serious upgrades, including the brand new RP1 I/O controller chip. And get this, they hit a peak production of 1 million units that same month.
That's amazing. That new chip is a game changer, by the way. Faster data transfer speeds, better connectivity.
Oh, wow. So even better performance.
Yeah, a big deal for users who need that extra power for their projects. This launch plus their ramped-up production, well, it shows they're ready to meet that growing demand.
Makes sense. And their financials reflect that, too. They reported 41% revenue growth, reaching $265.8 million.
That's huge. And the report says it's because of those increased unit sales and the shift to direct sales we were talking about.
Right, so going direct isn't just about selling more units.
It's also about maximizing those profit margins, having more control over pricing, and building stronger relationships with customers.
That's a great point. But there's also this interesting detail. While direct sales are booming, the revenue from those licensee sales actually went down.
That is interesting. It was about 8%.
Like maybe prioritizing direct sales impacts those partnerships in some way.
It makes you think, yeah. The report did mention a 19% drop in units sold through those licensee channels.
Okay, so maybe a deliberate choice to focus on selling directly, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Now, let's dive into the income statement. Their gross profit is up by a whopping 56%, reaching $66 million.
Impressive numbers, for sure.
And their gross profit margin jumped from 22.5% to 24.8%.
What's really striking is the impact of those falling memory prices we talked about earlier. Remember?
Yeah, the DRAM prices.
That's where it shows up. It really boosted their gross profit.
And they were smart to hedge against those potential price increases, right?
Exactly. It helped them ride out that component price volatility.
So lower component costs definitely helped, and it seems like they've got a good handle on their product mix.
Yeah, they're offering the right products at the right prices, it seems. And don't forget about the impact those 2022 semiconductor shortages had on their inventory management. Then the ramp up in 2023.
Right. A lot of adjustments to keep things running. Now let's look at cash flow. What are your thoughts? I see a 15% increase in cash inflow from operations, reaching $16.5 million.
That's good, but remember those increasing working capital requirements. As their business grows, they need more cash on hand to manage those larger operations.
It's like needing a bigger fuel tank for a longer journey.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, the report mentions they're considering more external investments to scale up their commercial activities.
Sounds like they're thinking big.
Well, they've always been smart with their cash flow and financing. Remember, they secured that new revolving credit facility.
I do.
But if they want to grow like they're planning, additional investment would be a smart move to fuel that expansion.
For sure. It'll be interesting to see what they decide.
And it looks like they're also thinking about their shareholders with those growth plans. The report mentions their plans for creating shareholder value, but it seems like a different approach from last year.
Oh, really? What's different?
Well, in 2022, they paid out $5 million in dividends.
Right.
But this year, nothing. No dividends.
Oh, wow. That's a big change.
Yeah, it seems they're all about reinvesting in growth this time. So putting those profits back into the business instead of paying them out.
Exactly. Like they believe it'll lead to bigger returns for shareholders down the road.
That's a bold move.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of companies are focused on those short-term gains, but it does make sense considering their growth plans. And remember those investments they got.
From Sony and ARM. Yeah,
$30 million total, that's a vote of confidence.
definitely.
Mm.
Big names betting on Raspberry Pi's future. Makes you wonder how those partnerships will shape their strategy.
For sure.
Oh, and they also mention issuing new ordinary shares and B shares under their long-term incentive plan.
Right, so they're attracting and keeping talent.
Exactly, which is super important in tech, especially these days when everything's moving so fast.
Hmm.
But it's not just about the numbers. The report also talks about employee well-being and that whole positive work environment thing.
Oh, that's great to hear. You know, a company's success is really driven by its people.
Absolutely. They really emphasize the importance of attracting and keeping talent, making sure people feel supported, offering opportunities for development and progression, and of course, competitive salaries.
Makes sense. Happy employees are productive employees.
Exactly. And they even mention their low staff turnover, so it sounds like people are pretty happy there. They also highlight the benefits of that open plan office they have.
Right. Encourages communication and collaboration.
Yeah. Breaks down those silos that can stifle innovation. So there's more of a shared purpose. Ideas can flow more freely.
That's great. Did they say anything about work-life balance?
Actually, yeah. They mention they're pleased with everyone being back in the office.
What's your say?
But they also say there are no strict attendance rules anymore. So it sounds like there's some flexibility.
Which a lot of people appreciate these days.
Definitely. They seem to understand that trust and respect are important for their employees.
Well, it sounds like they're finding a good balance there. But, we've talked a lot about financials and employees, but what about their environmental impact? Manufacturing tech can be pretty resource intensive. What are they doing about sustainability?
Yeah, that's a big one these days. And the report does shed some light on their energy use and greenhouse gas emissions.
Okay, good. And it sounds like they're taking steps to address these challenges. So what's the situation?
Well, their total energy consumption more than doubled from last year, almost 300,000 kilowatt
Oh,
hours.
wow, that's a big jump.
But they say it's mostly because everyone's back in the office after the pandemic and they moved to a larger head office towards the end of the year.
Right, makes sense. More people, more space, more energy.
Exactly. Now, when it comes to emissions, they're reporting a total of 62.55 metric tons of CO2 equivalent for 2023.
Okay.
That's everything from their offices, the energy they buy, all their business activities, basically. And they even break it down into scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, which shows they're being really transparent and understand their impact.
It's good that they're tracking that so carefully. But are they actually reducing their emissions?
They are. They've implemented energy-saving measures, especially at the new head office. They've switched to LED lighting, reprogrammed the heating and cooling systems to be more efficient, even planning to install solar panels.
Oh, that's great. Solar panels would definitely help. Anything else?
Yeah, they're applying for permission to install EV chargers, so employees could switch to electric vehicles more easily.
That's a good idea.
And they've also done something that's becoming quite popular these days. They bought carbon offsets to cover their 2023 emissions.
Carbon offsets.
Basically, it means they're investing in projects that reduce or remove CO2 from the atmosphere to compensate for their own emissions. So they're taking responsibility and contributing to the global effort against climate change. And they chose a company that uses this enhanced rock weathering technology. It's like a scientifically proven method for long-term carbon capture.
Sounds like they're really committed to minimizing their environmental impact, which is great to see. So we've covered their financials, their employees, their sustainability efforts. What's your take on their future? Where do you see Raspberry Pi heading in the next few years?
That's the big question, isn't it? We need to look at their projections, their growth potential, and what's happening in the industry as a whole.
So where do you see them going with all this in mind? What does Raspberry Pi's future look like?
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but looking at their track record, they're definitely set up for success. They've made it through some tough times, gotten great results, and stuck to their core values.
Innovation, accessibility, that strong community focus.
Exactly. Those are strong foundations.
They really show that a small company with a big vision can make a real difference. But tech moves fast. So what do you think are their biggest opportunities for growth?
One thing to watch is their expansion into new markets. They're global already, but there's still so much potential in those emerging economies where affordable computing is in high demand.
right? Like think about the impact they could have on education, providing students in developing countries with access to these powerful yet affordable computers.
That's it. And their commitment to open source software and hardware makes them perfect for education and in community projects. Empowering people to learn, experiment, create with technology, no matter what their background is, what resources they have, that's a powerful mission.
It really is. But they're not alone, right?
Yeah.
How do you think they'll stay ahead of the game in such a competitive industry?
It all comes back to innovation. They've always developed cutting edge products. And they keep investing in research and development, so they're in a good position to keep pushing the boundaries.
They're not just sitting back, they're shaping the future. And they have a great team of engineers to do it.
Right, but lots of companies have great engineers. What makes Raspberry Pi different?
Yeah, what's their secret sauce?
I think it's that unique blend of affordability, accessibility, and that strong community. They've built up such a loyal following of enthusiasts, educators who are passionate about their products and what they stand for. You can't buy that kind of brand loyalty.
They've come a long way. So it sounds like Raspberry Pi is on the right track for continued growth and innovation. They've faced challenges, adapted, and stayed true to their vision.
It's a pretty inspiring story, yeah.
Absolutely. They're a company to watch, a testament to the power of good ideas and making technology accessible for everyone. Who knows what they'll come up with next?
The possibilities are endless, really.
Well said. And for everyone listening, keep an eye on Raspberry Pi. They're proof that even in a world that's constantly changing, a small company with a big idea can make a huge impact. With their focus on innovation and accessibility, their future looks bright. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.